All right.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I thank you for coming out to our first town hall for this year. One of the reasons we wanted to do this was back in the spring, Valerie assessed our members and she wanted to know what were some of your concerns. And we heard different things from engagement, membership, pathways, a variety of things. So we thought from the very beginning it was important to do the town hall so that we can allow you guys to speak your voice. Let us hear what your concerns are, and then we can communicate back to you what we are doing, just in case you don't know. We've been doing a lot of things, but just like you, we have concerns about engagement. So this is an opportunity for us to share with you some of the things that we're doing, and for you to share with us your concerns and maybe where we might need to pivot if necessary or do more of something else. So is there anyone out there, not the trio, that could tell me what our mantra is this year? Can anyone verbalize what the district mantra is this year? Okay, that means we need to do a little bit more of getting it out there. So what you'll see on any of my emails, you'll see it on some of Valerie's and maybe Trina's as well. Our theme this year or mantra is visualize your success. See it, believe it, achieve it. But in that, we also want each and every one of you, either as a member or a leader in your club, is to have a plan of how you're going to get there. And for each of us, in order to be successful, we should kind of sit down and plot things out. We feel that if, as a officer or club leader, if you set out to be distinguished, so much of the success is going to come. And part of the discussion today, if there's some concern about how to get there or increase engagement, hopefully today we'll answer questions and come up with ideas on how we can help clubs move forward. Because if you as an individual are successful, and then that translates to the club. So if you've got multiple people in your club working to be successful, then the club is successful. If we have 34 clubs in the district working hard to be successful, then the district becomes successful. So it is just a multiplying effect. And so our idea today is not just about being distinguished, but if we start at the member level and we address the concerns of the members, we'll see benefits that affect the club and us as a district. So again, the town hall is just our opportunity to hear you and hopefully make any adjustments and even give you ideas on how you can make things better for your clubs. So with that, I will turn it over back to Valerie. So again, thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you, Sandra. All right. I would like to introduce our next leader, and that is Latrina Odell, our club growth director.
Thank you so much, Madam Quality Director. I am the Club Growth Director. I serve as the third trio member. My primary responsibility is to oversee all aspects of marketing, club building, and member and club retention efforts within the district. I also serve along with 4 committee chairs who are working to elevate Toastmasters by expanding our outreach into areas where we have not touched in the last couple of years. Our goal is to nurture the struggling clubs, build new clubs, and foster lasting relationships by going out into the communities. And this is something different this year that we have put a lot of effort into bringing awareness to Toastmasters, to our district. And so overall this year, when we look at club growth team overall, we have really been strategizing these last couple of months and getting our feet wet, I guess, going out, trying to bring awareness to Toastmasters and to try to get into some of the clubs that we know that are struggling, to hear their voices. And so tonight, I am here to share with you what we've done and also to answer any questions that you may have related to membership and membership retention. I'll turn it back over to you, Madam PQD.
All right, thank you, Latrina. And my role as the program quality director, and I love it because it's all about training and development and making sure that we have quality training so we can strive for Toastmasters excellence. Because I think that it's very important that our leaders receive adequate training, especially our club officers, so you can really draw impact within your club. And that is where we are as a trio, because we're making sure that we have programs like this where your voice matters and that we're here to support you at all costs, because we know that engagement is low, not just in our district, but in other districts. And so what we have to do is we have to come together with ideas and your ideas, and maybe you have something that's helping your club increase engagement, and you can share that here. And that's the reason why this is an event for you. It's an event for you so you can share best practices and you can learn from each other, as well as the trio is going to give you resources as well. Well, we're always looking, especially myself as a program quality director, always doing research, getting insights online to make sure that I share those updates and news with you, and how you can get better as well. And so just want to say thank you for coming, and we're just going to get everything started. So you did get the actual program, and we already went through, how we're going to assess questions. And what I want you to really think about is, what questions that you have. You can either come off mute, use your digital hand, or I'll be moderating the actual chat. And then we'll have one of the trios answer, and then we'll also open it to the floor if they have any answers or resources that they can share as well. But you probably want to, we'll probably make, when we're answering questions, it'd be like 60 seconds, but we have 40 minutes to really get into a deep dive conversation, and we want to make it a conversation. Okay. All right. So the first category is going to be engagement. So I'm just going to type that in the chat. So we know that engagement is something that a lot of clubs really want to increase. So if this is something that you have a question about, please use the chat or raise your hand and share that question with us, and we'll be happy to answer any of the questions. And this is the floor for you.
Come on, Toastmasters.
I know you have some questions on engagement. And if not, I definitely can. Okay, Robert McKenzie, welcome.
Thank you, Madam PQD and Madam District Director and Madam Club Growth Director, all distinguished Toastmasters, D103 leaders, and fellow Toastmasters. I think I got everybody there. I don't really have a question, but it's more of a suggestion I'd like to bring to the circle. And that is, it is obvious to me over the last several years that a lot of our Toastmasters are just simply burned out. and are struggling, at the club levels and even at the district level to, kind of kind of have the energy to do that lanyap. And so what has happened with this leadership group is you've been creating new events, new things for us to enjoy, and we're engaging more. And so I want to encourage you to continue doing more of that kind of thing, but also maybe create, and it might be hard to gather a team to do this, but create tools that the district can share with clubs so the districts, I'm sorry, so that the clubs aren't having to do the heavy lifting to pull the events together or to create that added engagement. But maybe it can be done more at a district level where it's shared and disseminated to the clubs, and we can kind of come together with more uh, engagement and activity, such as I don't know, scavenger hunts. I mean, I say that, but I love the direction that you all have taken with adding new ideas and new events to the mix. They're very effective. And so just pushing the gas on that, I think will help. But I think that at the club level, club leaders need help. They, um, it's hard enough getting everybody to do uh, uh, open houses, etc, or share on their social media, that kind of thing. And so a lot more of this is done at the district level, but I think the club leaders need help with that kind of thing. And maybe that comes from the PRM office or maybe another team in club growth that helps to drive that engine. And I'll land my plane there. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to
Mhm.
comment on it. Madam District Director, did you want to speak first or?
Well, I did want, it was a follow-up question to him to say,
Mhm.
um, the clubs that you are in, have you had the opportunity or maybe at a club meeting, sit down and just rather than have your standard meeting, understand where the members are? Because we've been hearing that from multiple places about burnout. So I guess our question is, what do those members need? And if they're still members of Toastmasters, what is it that they would like to get out of the organization? And what do we need to change so they still see that this is a valuable organization for them? And if we don't tap into that, and that's the purpose of this town hall, just so that we can understand what's missing, what we need to change so that people can get engaged again. So I appreciate your comments, and I'll just land it there like you did. For any clubs that are here that are struggling with memberships, if you've not maybe taken some time out and rather than have your regular meeting, just have a meeting to talk and understand where the members are and what they need and go from there. And that's kind of the moments of truth, basically, but that might be needed a lot. So over to you.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. Um, I'm raising my hand as one of our burned out leaders, and we're barely getting the meetings done, and we're having guests, but even just speaking for myself, I haven't had the zest to onboard as many individuals as I did maybe a few years ago. And
Hmm.
so that is, and that has an impact because, I've tried to share kind of some of that process from my perspective, but it hasn't really been kind of taken, the baton hasn't been taken. So if I can't, and I'm working more right now too. So if I can't do it, it's not getting done in a lot of cases. And so I just say that because I'm just one of many, and I've talked to many of our leaders, as you've heard directly from folks we've been working together for years. Um, just, many don't have the energy or the time to work Toastmasters like we have. And so we're kind of stuck with these super power four, five, six that are coming to meetings. And and then the story from there. So maybe if everybody could get like a month off, if there was some way we could magically have a month off of work and get some rest, then we could all regroup, come back in January and be ready for 2025. But short of stopping everybody's lives, I don't, and giving everybody a break, I don't know what we can do honestly. And so that's why I just wanted to say something, because I think you're headed in the right direction. I love the events, the collaborations, the district-wide open houses. I mean, I honestly think we need more of those, and maybe more mass marketing also, because I think our networks may be tapped too from from that perspective. Okay, I'm done.
So, and to add to that, Robert, a lot of things is delegation. So I learned this years ago because I was trying to do everything because I love it. And I start thinking to myself, there are people who just joined Toastmasters who really don't know what a VPE does. And so I think it's very important to set up committees so they can know exactly what to do, because I believe with Pathways, when they took away the Confident Leader manual, that really took a lot of the weight off of club officers, because you had to show that you can do a membership drive, you can do an open house. So you really wasn't doing all the work. So you had to have those boxes checked off. So I'll say that it's really great to go back to the old ways and showing them how to do open house, how to do a membership drive, and then have your own program on, giving them an incentive and stepping up to leadership. Now, what I did share in the chat is something that Toastmasters International had shared with us. It's called the Club Excellence Initiative Curriculum. And this PDF has all the bells and whistles, all the resources, how to do an open house, how to do a membership drive, and just so many things, and it's good for the club officers as well as the club members. And just look at it. It has all the links there for you. But what you want to do is make sure you plan and prioritize your time. Don't overextend yourself. That's where burnout comes in. If you're in more than one club, I can only do one. I cannot do many. Okay. But if you're in more than one club and you're taking on club officers' roles, that's going to burn you out. Okay. It's time to prioritize on how many clubs you can be in. How many roles can you take on? If you're going outside the district, because I know that we do have districts that work with us and we work with them, that can also cause burnout as well. So you really have to prioritize your time. So I'm going to leave it right there. Trina, you're next.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to add to what you guys were saying. I can really understand what Robert was saying about burnout, and then you added on about delegation. One thing I wanted to add is about a participatory style of leadership where we train new leaders. I think one of the main keys, and I'm speaking from my own experience of just multitasking and being a part of one club, you can still be burnt out. However, we have to tap into the resources. There are so many new Toastmasters and some Toastmasters that's been around for years, but just not have stepped up to the plate. We have to, I encourage you guys to find a way to engage those individuals that you may have already done that. Some of them are area directors now. Some are moving to division directors. But what about those that are still at the club officer level where they're still trying to increase their leadership skills at that level? Allow them the opportunity to take on some of the tasks. So that way you won't get burnt out. So it's kind of like what you were saying, Valerie, about delegation, but yet giving them another role outside of just the club president or membership and engagement, but giving them some of the tasks that maybe a club officer may have so that they can get the experience and see what it's like and maybe decide to take on some of those responsibilities in the future.
Okay, thank you so much. And we do have one question in the chat by Steve Archer. He said, are clubs that have in-person meetings having better retention and or engagement? I'm gonna answer this one real quick because for sake of time, I want to make sure we get through each category and then get to Dion. I believe that engagement is very high when you're in person because you're seeing everybody, you get to present. But retention, you got to be careful. When you are in person, you have to make sure you're active. You're an active club, even if you are meeting in person. You have to have events. You have to get your people engaged because you can also lose members when you are meeting in person because there's nothing going on in the club. So, but I believe that engagement is very high when you do meet in person. We have our past district director, Dion Lagan.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just to piggyback on what you were saying, Valerie, and I can't remember who asked the question about in person. Toastmasters was not created to be online. Now, we had to do that to save our districts, our clubs, because of COVID, and we pushed hard to get our members to stay and be online. That same push that we did to get our members online, our clubs online, we need to do that same push to get them to do hybrid. In no means do I think we can get rid of hybrid because many of us, when we were pushing to be online, we pushed and said, now you can ask any and everybody from anywhere in the world. So you don't want to lose those members because connections have been made. But I think that now we have to get up and get out of that box. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. Because getting online was not easy. But now it's time, and Toastmasters is basically telling us, you need to get up, you need to get out. That's why they're doing the area contest in person. Now, that means the district has to be instrumental in helping our clubs to get back out there. Some of our clubs may have lost the places where they were meeting before. Libraries may not be doing all of that again, but many of them are. Many of them, they're looking for people to come back in. So I think that we have to, as hard as we pushed our clubs to stay a club online, we have to do that same thing because as Robert says, people were excited when we got in person. And that same excitement needs to be carried over to our clubs. I think that that's the first step in getting engagement to increase. And as he said, I'm gonna land my helicopter right there.
Okay, and I do have, thank you so much, Dion, and we have Sandra Lane. And then we're gonna go to the next.
I do want to comment because member engagement was a category, and because he asked the question, I do want us to spend a little time on that. And I think it's really important because with our Zoom meetings or online meetings, I think overall, the quality of speeches are not the same as they were when we were meeting in person. I think our members may not be taking as much time in preparation because we sit at the desk. We even had a speech contest recently where the members were competing and actually reading their speech. So I think that it's important that we go back to in-person at least half of the meetings if the clubs are able to do that, because I think it forces the members to put a little bit more time in preparing their speeches. So the very things that we're evaluating them on, hand gestures, vocal varieties, you can see it in person. I think the connection is there when you're in person. And when you get new members, you're better able to connect with them. And when you go to those in-person meetings, and like in Broadview, we make it when there's a holiday, we make it a social event. Therefore, it's not more of a chore or feeling burned out. You look forward to going to the meetings. You look forward to seeing your friends, and you get to hear speeches and have personal development at the same time. So I think if we can get members to look at it versus something that is hard to do, a combination of things. I get to see friends. I'm developing myself. I enjoy myself when I go to the, and I think you get more of that when you're in person. Thank you, Val.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. That's very resourceful too. And I know that we were talking about retention, so that's the next category that we're going to talk about. I know that a lot of clubs are suffering with decline in membership, but we want to know how can we keep what we have right now, and how can we engage? Well, engagement is one, but if you are a club and you see an increase in your club membership, you know, what have you done to keep those members? But if you are a club that has questions around retention, if you can, you know, come off mute or you can share it in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. I see, I take it that some of y'all are having some really good retention. I mean, I
I
can
can
share
share
with,
an example. I can share an
okay,
example. Good evening, everyone.
Mhm.
I have a couple of clubs that are struggling and consistently, and it's not uncommon. And engagement takes a lot of work, especially if only one person is doing it. And I think we have to be more creative about the ways we engage to not cause ourselves to be drained out. But I was in a meeting and I had no idea, but the meeting was over early, and I decided to talk about the value of Toastmasters. Yeah, and I did this for about an hour. I mean, we were done really quickly because we didn't have speakers or what have you. But anyway, to the point, there was a new member who shared that they were about to not renew. And because she heard the things that I shared, she was like, I didn't know any of those things. And she was like, you're making me think about Toastmasters in a different way. And she was like, gosh, I didn't realize I had all those options, because I talked to her about these were my personal observations. And I began sharing how I've noticed that there are different paths. You know, I've identified them as 3 paths. It's like some go on the leadership path, some go on the speaking path, and then others, they just hobo and dangle their legs from the train and ride. You know, so and you have to figure out where you're going to fit. And I also talked about using it for your benefit. I think we need to reinvent ourselves. I think that we need to bring sexy back, you know, because I hear all the time, oh, we used to this, and the contest used to be that, and we used to dress up, and we didn't have all the, you know, so how do we reignite? And even sometimes we want to go back, but how about going beyond where we were? You know, so being creative. And that same question, what's in it for me, that we use for our speeches. You know, the audience wants to know, why am I listening to you? You know, and so as Toastmasters, we have to share information with the members and potential members. Like, why would you want to attach yourself to us? And to make it, what I've observed, and again, this is my personal observation, is that Toastmasters is secondary at best. And members, you know, we life is lifing. We've said that quite often, but it's very difficult to, it's like a construct. It's not something that you can pour into someone. You either are committed to it or you aren't. And so how can we start those conversations early to get people who are engaged? One of the things that I like about one of my clubs, which is way is when we do the membership, and we have potential members, they come in, they have to come 3 times, and then they're voted on. But they're also, I hate to say it like this, but this is what it is, their feet are held to the fire. You know? So it's like, what are you going to do? You know, what is your plan? And it's put out front that there's an expectation, and this is what it looks like. And how do you fit in that? And it sets a tone to not have members that just come and don't participate, don't do their speeches, don't do offices, things like that. And I think we have to connect with what works for people. Another club, I had a meeting because there were some struggles, and I just asked, it was like, why are you here? What is it that you want out of Toastmasters, and what is it that you desire to give? And we had some people that committed more deeply. And then we had one person that left because they were honest and they're like, this isn't really what I want to do. And I'm just here, you know, trying to support someone else, but my heart isn't here. And it was actually a weight. And I think we have to have those hard conversations. I've heard the moment of truth, which I think is wonderful, but really getting to even the new members, what is it that you want to do?
Mhm.
And when we find out what they want to do, make sure that we engage in that. If they're, say for instance, if they're an entrepreneur, you know, maybe we'll do a theme meeting on pitching, you know, so that would help them. So making sure that we have specific things that can attract and tap into what the needs are. And it's also like having something good, but nobody knows about all the good things that it does and all the opportunities. And I don't think we brag enough. I don't think we brag enough because there's so many things that I see. And when I shared those things, it really made a difference. And you never know where people are, and you don't know what you don't know. And so we have a lot of members that are just flip-flopping around, and they don't fully know the full benefits, you know, of what it is to be a member. They don't understand the full benefits of what it means to compete. You know, I shared that, you know, that people have made a name for themselves. You know, they've branded themselves, they've become authors. You know, you can be on the path to be the world champion. And it was like, wow, really? And we can't take it for granted, because I'm the type of person that I look into things. I don't deal with what's on the surface. And what I've learned is most people don't do that. They don't investigate for themselves. They don't look for other resources. They don't look to develop themselves. And there's a lot of spoon feeding. And to really start to develop leaders and start that from the beginning. You know, we some clubs assign mentors. One of my clubs, we do shadowing. So we try to prepare the next officer for the next year and give them the opportunity, because sometimes people are afraid to take those roles and to do things. But if we start building them and have those expectations from the beginning, I think that we would have some better results.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for those nuggets, because you hit on the dime, and that is mentoring. Mentoring is very important. In my club, I had created a mentoring development program to make sure that it stick. It was part of my high performance leadership. And so I think that if you give somebody a mentor, it's not even a choice. They get it. Okay. Once they are a member of South Loop Speak Freaks, we have the onboarding with the VPE, from the VPE to the introduction to your mentor for your first 3 speeches. And so you have to give 3 speeches in that first, and then you have a choice to stay with that mentor after the 3 speeches and continue the relationship. I'm gonna get Dushan And then we're gonna go on to the next. Because we have 15 minutes left, and we'll probably pass pathways and go on to preventing burnout, since that was something that was really a great topic.
If we're going to talk
Deshaun.
about pathways, if we're going to talk about pathways, I will wait until then. But except this one thing is that we've changed, guys. This is not 1950. It's not 1970. And so when we bring new people in, they're used to the kind of things that Toastmasters are doing now. They're used to looking at everybody in this little screen. I mean, hey, we've changed. So we have to change with it. And we have to be able to give our speeches so that they make sense in this little box. We got to use every little piece of this little box that we possibly can in order to make things happen. And the next thing is that since we've changed, we do have to spend some time in the pathways. They've made this really smooth now, but we can't get to it because we want to use the book, but like back in the day. Come on, it's over. So in order for us to do this, we have to spend some time with this pathways thing. It's got some really neat tricks to it. And if we're not getting people in who we can train about these neat tricks, about how to do different kinds of speeches, about how to do speaking online and doing blogs and doing all that kind of stuff. If we don't speak to them in the way they need to know to now, we won't keep them. We won't. It's too hard. You think it's hard to get into pathways, but there's a lot of people getting into pathways now that it's okay. I just get on, click here, click there, click there. Makes sense. What's nice about pathways now, and I'll talk about it later on. Well, what the heck? I'll talk. They're letting you know. They're letting you know when you. Okay, my time is up. Bye. She gave me the red signal.
But you
I'm done.
gave some great information, Deshaun, because I believe that the new look of the pathways, I think that's going to set people up for success. And I like the fact that you can have your evaluator fill out the information and save on your pathways. So that's going to make you very successful. We have Steve Archer.
Hi, I don't want to be a naysayer as I'm sitting here trying to cook sweet potato pie the old-fashioned way. You put it in the strainer and you shrink, you do the whole thing through the strainer. And if you've ever put it in the blender, it tastes different, right? And this is one of the things that I just want to say is that even though society is changing and these younger generations are changing, humans are still the same. It took us tens of thousands of years to develop. And there are all these little micro expressions that occur when we're in person that you just can't see on Zoom. So part of the reason we may be losing that connection with people is because we are not connecting with people. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. And one thing Steve said is connection. And one thing I learned, Matt Kenzie, he said it when he came to our conference. He told the trio, he said, I'm speaking to the trio. He said, if you don't connect with your members, they're not coming to your events. He said, you can promote all you want. If you don't connect with them, they're not coming. So that is a very important thing. Even when you're at club level, you have to connect with your members, see how they're doing. I know everybody wants to use that word, life is lifing. I just don't want you to get away on what your why is. Okay. Life is always going to be lifing. I got so many things that I have to do. But the thing is, you have to prioritize your time. It's called time management. And maybe that's something that like an event we can have is on time management and how to block time for Toastmasters. You don't use your whole day on Toastmasters. You got to work, you got to exercise, you got to eat, everything. But the thing is, you have to look at Toastmasters as something away from work. That's how you have to look at it. That's how I always looked at Toastmasters, is to get away from work and have fun. And I wish Jack Chamberlain was here, because when I first met him as an area director, he told me, stop calling your club meeting a meeting. He said, call it a club event. People love events. And when we did that in South Loop Speak Freaks, people were coming. even though it was a club meeting. So sometimes you have to change up the verbiage and have fun. Yes. And so we got to bring the fun back. Don't verbalize that you don't like pathways. Keep it to yourself. My thing is, let's talk about how we can increase engagement and have fun. Since we're talking about burnout, preventing burnout, that's going to be the next section that we're going to talk about. And I think that we can go ahead and talk about burnout in the next, 10 minutes? Because we really talked about retention and we talked about decline, and that's all tied in with engagement. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is burnout. So for the next 10 minutes, because we have until 6:55 before we start with our breakout sessions. So who wants to talk about burnout? I know Robert had mentioned it. Do anyone have any questions around it? Or maybe you've done some things that helped you to prevent burnout within Toastmasters? And you can share those tools.
Valerie,
Yes.
one of the things that I've used in one of our clubs is for clubs to come together. So one of the things for burnout is in the meetings, particularly if you have 3, 4, 5 members that are consistent, and then you have to take 2, 3 roles. And out of those, there may be one person who takes 3 or 4 roles. And that's exhausting, especially if you have a guest and you have to have high energy. And, even though you're tired, you know that your meeting is a marketing tool and you have to go all in. And so if you have another club that has that 3 or 4 members and do joint meetings together, that way you don't have to take on 3, 4 roles. You can spread out the roles, even if it's done once a month. And that has been helpful to try to take some of the pressure off, because the thing about burnout is that you can only go so long before you just can't do it anymore. And we don't want it to, we want to be proactive. We don't want it to get to that point.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. That is really great, because joint meetings are really great. I'm not gonna lie, you're meeting other people from the clubs. And then not only that, like you said, it helps you with balancing out the meeting. We have Mark Messino.
Thank you, Valerie. I will go further than Cynthia, and not only joint meeting, but having clubs partner between themselves, and not just for one event or one meeting, but becoming partners for the rest, or at least 1 year, and have all members of both clubs know that they can go to both clubs' meetings. So they can go to a Toastmaster meeting 4 times a month instead of 2 times a month. And from here on out, there's many more opportunities that they can grab onto. I see club partnerships. That's the word I was looking for. Club partnerships being a solution of a burnout. I burnt out when I was with the next step. We said that we no longer want to exist this past June. And why? Because the membership for the previous 18 months had been decreasing slowly and slowly and slowly. Why? Because we had one member go to California, another member go to DC. The member who went to DC was joining because it's a Zoom meeting, but you had many other members who went their separate ways, and we had a core that became smaller and smaller, and it was just too much. And we said, okay, next step is no more. But now I took a period off, and I'm back in. I joined South Loop Speak Freaks 2 weeks ago. I'm ready to re-begin.
That's awesome. And sometimes you do have to take care of yourself. Self-care is very important. I know Steve had mentioned, being in person, that's where you get all your energy and that. But I think, being Zoom fatigue, I think that's a lot, being on the screen, but you do also have to make it fun. Because I do remember when we were in person, we only had 3 people at the meeting. So we kind of we didn't do all the roles at all. We just did it the way we had to do it to make it fun. That we still did our meeting and we still had speeches in front of, I spoke for Gary and Brandon. It was just those 2 looking at me, giving my presentation. But we weren't trying to do the whole meeting. We were trying to be a general evaluator and all this stuff. We just made it our own meeting and made it for all 3 of us. So that's how you have to do it. Don't try to do too much in a meeting. If you only have 5 people, just do what you can and still keep that Toastmasters feel. That's how you have to look at it. You have to adjust. You still got to give feedback because remember, in Toastmasters, what Ralph Smedley said, it's all about the evaluation. So if you want to make it about the evaluation that day, and because you only have a little bit of folks, that's okay. All right, Sandra.
Yeah, I think it's along the same thing as what you said, especially with small groups. And when you have to take multiple roles, that leads to the burnout. And for those of you that are in multiple clubs, that's really draining. If you've got a bunch of meetings to go to and the clubs are small and you're taking multiple roles. So one suggestion I'm having, and this kind of goes back to the engagement part, is be creative. Invite people to your meeting, especially if you're only having 4 or 5 meetings. Invite someone to speak, whether it's a pathway guru or you've heard something somewhere, someone gave a fantastic speech. Invite them to come and speak at your meeting. That relieves a little bit of the pressure. They can also serve a functional role. Maybe you invite 2 people to your meetings, and that way folks aren't forced to have 2 or 3 roles. You could relax a little bit. And like Valerie said, be creative. I think that's the most important thing. Do something outside of that regular meeting structure, whether it's a speech-a-thon, a table topic marathon, or something, but make it so that whoever is there has a good time. That way, you're developing yourselves, you're developing the members, but it doesn't feel like it's a chore. And if we can make that shift, then I think we'll see more of the engagement back and less of the burnout. Just thinking outside of the box, how can we do more and it's not taking all of my time? Start inviting some people.
Exactly. I think that's really interesting what you just said, Sandra. Bring people to your club. Have like at our club, we always bring a special guest, like Jerry Evans, Valerie Fuson, Barry Mixon. When they hear those names, like, oh, Barry, I don't think Barry's on. I think he is. But we get excited when we bring speakers to our meetings. It's never dull. Like if you do the word of the day, we do snaps. And I learned that when I was an area director going to one of these clubs to visit. And when they said the word of the day, they start snapping. So you have to get very creative and things like that. I know we're coming to the end of the open forum. Just want to say, remember what your why is, okay? Toastmasters, remember why Dr. Ralph Smedley created it. Even though we're in the 21st century, technology is fast. You have to understand it's a legacy. That's why it's here for 100 years. But we also have to understand by reading the book, Personally Speaking, by Dr. Ralph Smedley, I It's $7.50, but you can read it and it's going to open your mind up. You're not going to look at the year that you're in and talk about that's old. It's not old. It's still relevant today. The reason why you're burnt out, because you're trying to do it your way. If you follow what the steps that he got in that book, you're going to bring that Toastmasters energy back in your club, because now you're going to understand why the organization even exists. And you just bring in your own spin in, but you got to remember your why and understand what is Toastmasters and why it's here. So now that we at 6:55, and everybody, I'm going to say those who had questions in the chat and those who gave some really good nuggets, I want to say thank you to you and making this very engaging. And now it's going to get even more engaging because now you're about to go into some breakout rooms. Okay, so we have 30 people, and I know we have to minus the 3 or 4, so that'd be about 24. So we're going to have 5 breakout rooms. So everything that we talked about, engagement, member retention, decline in membership, pathways, that's going to be different breakout rooms. And Juan Tran is going to open those rooms. Please make sure that we balance out the numbers in each room. Have one person write the notes. And if you want that person to be that spokesperson, because they got the notes, they can be that spokesperson, or you can nominate somebody else to be the spokesperson. But pick the room that you want to go into and come up with one solution. So if it's burnout, have a solution for that. If it's member engagement or club engagement, have one solution. When you come back to the main room, that one spokesperson is going to have 1 minute to discuss the solution that was in that discussion. You're going to have 15 minutes, probably less than that now, but just 15 minutes in that room to have a discussion around that topic and then come up with one solution for it. Okay, are you ready, Juan?
Yes, Valerie, the rooms have been opened.
Okay, great. All right, well, how was that for everyone? You can show your emojis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
I went to different rooms and everybody was having really great conversations, and we gave you an extra 5 minutes because I said, oh my God, we cannot end this. I know.
I was in the middle of my speech. I was in the middle of my speech. I want my time back. Come on, I got 2 minutes left. No, I can't.
Hey,
that must be
Barry.
Barry.
I was gonna say, that had to be Barry. I recognize Barry's voice from anywhere. That had to be Barry.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have from each category, we're going to have one spokesperson to speak for your group. So for club engagement, you're first. So you'll have 60 seconds. And when you do see the red card, that means stop. And who's the spokesperson for club engagement?
That is Daphne.
All right.
Okay, well, greetings, fellow Toastmasters. In our brief club engagement conversation, we discussed the fact that sometimes a little core of members performs critical roles over and over and over again at the risk of burning out the members. One of our participants was a member of 2 clubs where there was a core of 4 or 5 members who attended regularly, performed the same multiple roles over and over again. They were committed Toastmasters. They stayed together, but when you had 1 or 2 people who never did anything, eventually it can be discouraging that some people won't try. So that's a challenge. One out of 5 ideas was that in terms of club engagement, mentoring happens to be an issue. That if new members come in and have guiding members who set a tone or set an expectation, that you change roles, that's critical. Mentoring is critical. to a good club. Two, maybe vary it by having a joint meeting with other people. One, if you have a club that has met by Zoom, try meeting in person and adding a social aspect so that people become friends with one another. At the end of the meeting, assign people to their next month's role and have a reminder go out before the meeting. You said you would be humor master. Here's some ideas about being humor master. Just a reminder immediately beforehand about your roles in case it's just not on top of mind for you. And I think I covered everything our group discussed.
All right. Thank
Back
you so
to
much,
you,
Daphne.
Ms.
All
Valerie.
right. Great. Thank you so much, Daphne. All right. So we're going to have group number 2, which is member retention, and just one solution that you came up with.
Madam PQD, I believe that was our group, Madam, or maybe one, that we were talking about member retention. And we had a very lively discussion, input from all of our participants with lots of cool ideas and reminders. The one that we decided really merited being shared is to make it personal. Make it personal for each member by reaching out to them. And the VPE can do this as the officer who has charge of the quality of the meetings. And when you don't see somebody at a meeting for a period of time, reach out to them, but reach out to every member at least once a quarter on a personal note, summarized as investing in your members. Show them that you care, that you're aware of their interests and needs, and not just by email, not just by mass emails to all the members of the club as reminders. It gets to be like nagging, and I've done that as VPE. Hey, we got a meeting coming up and we got open positions and roles. Please sign up, and try to make that interesting. Make it personal. Do a 30-second video for a given person. Use your phone. You can do that. Or you can send a verbal message on your phone, text them, call them, but reach out on a regular basis, at least every other month, to let them know you're looking out for them and that you're interested in what they have to say. That's I don't see the red. Okay, there it is.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary, for sharing those tips. And then for Pathway Success, you can set up your spokesperson.
I'll speak for him.
Okay.
We had an interesting thing. I think that most people think it's difficult to get into pathways. It's actually easier than it has been before. But I think what the frightening thing is that when you read what you have to do for a project, for instance, manage projects successfully, it says that you have to form a team of 3 or 4 people and choose a project, and you have to create this, blah, 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 all that good stuff, right? And then if you look at some of the other ones, they have this long list of things that you think that you really have to do. Now, the list of things that you have to do is a suggestion about what you have to do, because you've read everything they said inside of Pathways, and you're trying to go ahead and create that. But in reality, you can use your life in the things that you're doing right now at this time that you want to get better at yourself. So we had a illustration of a person that knew budgeting. Don't know anything about budgeting. And she gave in 30 seconds a little bit of information about that. This to make you feel free. You don't have to follow every doggone thing they say in that project checklist. Make it you. Make it you. You have to bust out your drums and dance and do the belly dance. You could do your own thing, but make it fun and make it relevant so that people will keep coming to your club because they want to hear you talk about budgets. They want to see Dushan Mosley play the drums or act as crazy. It keeps that retention. to the max. So pathways can help with your retention if you keep your speeches lively and you don't sweat and get all scared and afraid. I have to say with the words. So that's what we talked about. Thank you. Back
Thank
to
you
you,
so
Valerie.
much, Deshaun. You make it so much fun. I love it. All right. So the next one is preventing burnout. If we can have spokesperson for that.
You know, we didn't really decide on a, I think we just kind of like forgot that, at least I don't remember. But I'll go ahead and just sum up a few things that the important things, because we kind of went back and forth, but it was, I said we were short on time. But I think one of the takeaways is overcommitting to other things. I know there are people that the district has asked them to take multiple roles, you know. So I think it'll be, people want to be able to just concentrate on master, especially if they're new Toastmasters trying to take on a role for whether it's area director or whatever, and then trying to take on another role as a coach or a mentor. It's a lot. So I think if we can just allow people to, like, I'm not gonna say master, but really get a good hold on what's going on with one role before they jump into another major role that's gonna require more attention. So that's pretty much it. Overcommitting and you know, just being asked to do more than a person is capable of doing. There was some other stuff, but that's the gist of it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sonia, for sharing that, because sometimes we can't overextend ourselves. Yeah. And so the next one is addressing membership decline. Our last presenter.
That would be our group, Madam PQD. And interestingly enough, after listening to all of these suggestions, all of those will definitely help with membership decline. But we came up with, we had 8 different ones, but I just want to talk about one in particular, and that's being proactive. And how do you do that? We talked about engaging our members, but we need to also find out what their why is. And then we need to help and create a plan for them in their why. And a part of that is doing your success plan. Again, that's being proactive. You want to also use every meeting as a membership drive. Every meeting, we should be asking people to come. We know people just not gonna come back. They're just not coming back. But we need to always continually be looking at the meeting as an opportunity to increase our membership. Go back to some of the old school ways. We've done it in Talk of the Town. We're going to the libraries. We're talking to people. We're leaving flyers. So you need to let people know who you are and where you are. And last but not least, I think you just need to keep your members accountable. Thank you, and back over to you.
All right, thank you so much. And everyone, I mean, every group gave some great nuggets, and I just want to give you a hand clap on that, because this was a great town hall meeting. And I'm pretty sure you all had learned something from your group. If you did, show some emojis. And I know that before we end, you know, the closing remarks, what I want to, we each of the trio, we're going to give our closing remarks. And because we want to leave you with something. And I know we've been hearing this, is know your why. And that not just your why is, if you are a club officer or a leader, you know that you are serving your club. You're serving your club, you're giving them resources that they need and the support. And that's where mentoring comes in. If you don't have a mentoring development program, I suggest that you have one, and just start small and just start building it. Because that's what's going to help you with retention, it's going to help you with engagement. And then not only that, it's going to help your member understand their why as well. And so I'll hand it over to Sandra to give her closing remarks.
Thank you, Valerie. I hope that everyone here found a nugget or two that you can go back to your club in terms of helping with engagement or retention, or even if it's taking one of your meetings and having a discussion. And maybe the theme of that meeting is, what is your why, to Valerie's point. I think that might be a really good meeting because it'll allow the members to think about, why am I here? Why did I join Toastmasters? Am I getting what I want to get out of it? And am I putting in what I need to put in to make some forward progress? So just think about that. So at the end of the day, I hope there was something that you heard today that will help you as a Toastmaster, that you can go back and help your club. And at the end of the day, we see some forward progress, because that's what this is all about. So again, thank you for giving us some time this evening.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And this event was recorded. You're definitely going to get this actual recording. It's going to go on YouTube, but it's going to be unlisted. So if you have the link, only people who have the link will be able to look at this video. It won't be shared to the public, because, to me, I think it's just some things you just have to have just for your district. That way you can just go ahead and learn and then take that back, to your clubs. And then we do have some guests that are coming from different districts, which is really great. And, but again, be looking out for this Saturday. We have our TLI. If you have not signed up for the TLI, you have to. You go to d103toastmasters.org to fill out the registration. But we do have a really packed agenda just for you. We have keynote speaker Louisa Matalva, the first place winner of the World Champion of Public Speaking. We have 4 education sessions. We also have our club officers who are going to be trained. And the bonus is going to be the Authentic Leadership Panel with Pat Johnson, which is the past International President of Toastmasters, along with our International Director, Sereni Voss. And then we have Sandra Lane, our District Director, who's going to be part of that panel, and Louisa Matalva. So please make sure you register today. Make sure you have your link and you're ready to go. So I want to say thank you to you all. You all were wonderful, and everything that you have mentioned, all the nuggets, take it back to your club. We want to see that increased engagement. So everything is adjourned, but you have a wonderful evening.
And feel free to reach out to us if there's any follow-up or any questions about any of these things, because we are here to help you guys. That's most important. We're here to help you guys. Okay, good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sandra. Thanks,
Good night, everybody.
Valerie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
See
so
ya.
much
Good
for organizing
night.
this.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Great town
Welcome.
hall. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.